Hello everybody, welcome back to Theje's Notebook Review. I am Joel Michael, and what I have for you today is from Asus. This is the FX53VE. It's a 15.6-inch notebook that comes packed with the latest Intel Core i7 CPU made into the Nvidia GTX 1050 Ti GPU. Let's find out how well this notebook will game on your go. This then is the Asus FX53VE. You can find it in this spec as reviewed for just over $1,000. It has the Intel Core i7 7700HQ CPU that clocks 4 hyper-threaded cores up to 3.8 GHz with 6 megs of L3 cache, the Nvidia GTX 1050 Ti GPU with 4 gigs of GDDR5 VRAM, 16 gigs of DDR4 memory, a 256 gig M2 SSD from Hynix, and a 1TB 5400 RPM Seagate hard drive with a huge 128 megs of cache, all underneath a 15.6-inch 1080p matte LCD screen. The 48,000 mAh battery keeps these components alive for 4.5 hours of streaming video, which is far above average, but only an hour of gaming. The included 120-watt power adapter is quite sizable and comes with a 7-foot cord length. It's long enough for most circumstances, but not that generous. Let's see what all those holes in the side do. The front is where the SD card slot is. On the right we have a USB 2.0 port, the DVD-RW drive, and a lock slot. And to the left is the DC in, a lonely vent, gigabit LAN, HDMI, 2 USB 3.0 ports, USB Type-C, and a headset in. So far, I have one device that uses USB Type-C, my audio interface. I'm curious as to what USB Type-C peripherals you guys use because I find myself still thirsty for a fourth standard USB port. We do get an optical drive, although right now I'm torn between my preference for an optical drive or a second fan. In this notebook's case, I'm leaning towards wanting a second fan. I'll elaborate more on that later. The Intel dual-band AC adapter works just as well as ever. No problems or issues there. The build quality of the FX53VE is about as good as plastic can get. The brushed texture is smooth to the touch on the top cover, and the palm rest is a bit coarse but not uncomfortable to glide your fingers across. Oil from your fingers will undoubtedly show up on the top cover and touchpad, while the palm rest will put up a bit more resistance, though it's not invincible either. The finish on the keys will also show oil stains after heavy use and will wear over time. The asymmetrical raised pattern that surrounds the keyboard is a bit of an odd touch and distracts in my peripheral vision since it catches and reflects some light. My guess is it'll be gone in the next generation or successor to this notebook series. The bottom cover comes off with a bit of know-how with 10 easy screws and one more hidden underneath the central rubber flap. With a decent prying tool, the rest is rather simple. Here we see that there is indeed only one fan that's fed by a couple heat pipes that equally cover both the GPU and the CPU, and the memory is underneath that black cover that folds back for easy access. The keyboard on this Asus works pretty well. The keys have a short stroke with a definite bassy click. Compared to other keyboards though, it takes more force to press, and my quick, light typing style misses strokes simply because I failed to use enough oomph to push down the key. It will take a while to get used to, same as the raised hump on the W key. Also, the numpad is narrowed, just like the backspace, slash, and enter keys. Shift and control are even pushed aside, but I never use right shift and I always have to check myself before I wreck myself with right control anyway. At least it's backlit red with 3 different brightness settings. The touchpad on this Asus isn't the best I've used, nor the worst. The acceleration is predictable, but clicking on those 12-font hyperlinks will take extra concentration. It's not as bad as the Acer VX15 I just reviewed, which had trouble with small gestures. It will still get in your way while typing an essay though, and there aren't any physical buttons to help you out. The darn thing doesn't illuminate with the keyboard either. At least it can be disabled via hotkey. The LCD screen on the FX53VE could be better. It is 15.6 diagonal inches that cast 1080p lines across your eyes. It gets sufficiently dim and a little bit more than comfortably bright, with a color balance that's oh so slightly warm. I wouldn't want to use this display for as much as semi-pro photo editing. The viewing angles are quite narrow and it tilts back just far enough to earn you a comfortable view on your lap. The strength of the hinges negates rocking while typing, which is very nice. The speakers on this notebook do good work. The overall sound is biased towards the bass range, so high treble noises can't shine here, and there's a bit of muddiness to everything. No room will be completely filled by these speakers' volume. The bass in Calm Like a Bomb comes through, although not perfectly clean, but the bass in A Perfect Circle's The Package is at least audible, though there isn't good definition to the pitch. At least you can tell it's trying to make an effort when the heavy guitar comes in. System performance of the FX53VE is exactly what you can expect from the latest and greatest i7 with 16 gigs of RAM and an SSD that reaches read speeds of over 500 megs a second, save for this reliable glitch in Chrome that hides your webpage under a black veil for about 15 seconds when you pull it up from its minimized state. Ouch. You'll have to disable hardware acceleration in the advanced settings menu in order to get that to go away. Microsoft Edge suspiciously doesn't have the same problem. As for the rest of the experience, web browsing is just as snappy as expected, and you can't really get more performance without shelling out way more clams for a better CPU, so have fun. On to gaming. Recently, I reviewed an Acer gaming notebook with a Core i5 and GTX 1050 base GPU. This Asus has a Core i7 and 1050 Ti. Compared to the Acer, this gaming experience is maybe a little better? Sure, it benchmarks higher in Firestrike, but actual performance gains in titles like Witcher 3 are minimal. Moving away from that comparison, your general gaming experience won't be amazing with new titles, where you'll be mitigated to medium details or lower. Rise of the Tomb Raider can be played on high, but medium will take you to as close to a smooth experience as possible, though it's still not perfect. To be absolutely fair, you can play Witcher 3 perfectly smooth in Ultra, you just have to lower the maximum FPS to 30, like on the console versions. Ew. And of course, older games like Diablo 3 or Heroes of the Storm run perfectly well at the highest detail settings. Though the CPU will reach 90 degrees, there's no such thing as throttling here. However, the single fan will work up a sweat to keep everything cool and will make its presence known. Still, even just the notebook speakers are enough to minimize its influence. Your lap will remain cool and comfortable if you're using the SSD to play your games, and predictably, your frames will be cut in half when away from the plug. For the bottom line, the Asus FX53VE is the upgrading endgame for these casual gaming notebooks, what with a Core i7, 256GB SSD with an accompanying storage drive, and 16 gigs of memory. It's too bad then that the keyboard, touchpad, and screen keep you from a truly comfortable experience that you would expect from a PC in this price range without the GPU. If you can find it for $1,000 or less, then it's worth it. But for a tag of over $1,000, this notebook needs either an IPS screen, or better input mechanics, or a faster GPU to fit into that price point. In conclusion, students get a thumbs down. Sure, it has better than average battery life and doesn't exactly weigh a ton, it will still put quite the burden on your shoulder, and it's a bit too expensive for your budget. If you do want something to crunch numbers, essays, and games on, these days you're better off finding something older with a 960M GPU or something refurbished. For casual gamers, this is a worthy notebook to consider. Like I said, it's the same to buy this thing as it is to get a cheaper notebook and slap on upgrades later. You'll simply be paying for it all up front. There is always that Acer VX15 I just reviewed too. This Asus certainly doesn't eclipse that option. Rest assured that if you can find a notebook with just a GTX 1050 non-Ti for significantly less money, you won't be missing out on much. Competitive gamers should still find something with a couple more teraflops. Your favorite shooters from 2017 won't run at 60 frames per second in high details, and that's a shame. Try something instead with a GTX 1060. Desktop replacement users can go for it, I suppose. You'll benefit from the upgrades more than anybody else. That is, if you're not doing photo editing. Home users shouldn't consider expensive gaming notebooks at all. Move along. Get. This has been a review of the Asus FX53VE gaming notebook here on Theje's Notebook Review. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, share it on your fave social media website, and subscribe to the channel for more gaming notebook reviewing action. And drop a comment below if you want to leave some praise, a critique, or a question or two. Thanks for watching, and you guys, have a good night.